And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange! 145!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? We don't need any more of these.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Starlink. A Starlink 6-64. My God, I could not talk in this intro. My name is Adrian Ball, and I'm your host for today's Starlink mission, which carries 23 more V2 Mini internet satellite, hopefully, to space today. We are 58 minutes away from launch, and as you can tell, it's a bit windy out there. We will talk about that with very educated field personnel in a bit, but first I want to introduce my other studio host here with Mr. Alejandro Alcantarilla Romero. Alex, how you doing?
You're getting it better now.
Yeah,
I'm doing great. This is gonna be a very interesting launch in terms of these stats. We'll probably talk about that. But yeah, it's windy. It's windy, man. Let's hope that it'll last for a launch today.
Yeah, and our weather expert in the field that I will throw it into here for the overview of the wind is Mr. Max Evans. And Max, how is it?
Did you just call me a weather expert?
Yes.
Well, I am not, just for the record. I'm just the guy who points the camera. But good evening, everybody, or good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you may be watching from. And
Oh.
yes, indeed, it is a very windy evening here at the Kennedy Space Center.
Speaking of winds,
Yeah.
we have an update from SpaceX.
Yeah, so just to read this update here, less than 1 hour for tonight's Falcon 9 launch on Starlink. Teams are keeping an eye on winds, but otherwise looking good to step into propellant load. That pretty much, so just for context here, we are already at the very end of the window here. The window originally was way longer, but we are like 13 minutes away from the closing of the window with the current T0 they're targeting. And I mean, this exposed basically confirms what we already were speculating. And by the way, sorry, behind the scenes we have Mr. Kevin Michael Reed. I'm sorry for forgetting you, Kevin. But Max, this lines up, right? Like we saw the winds and we're like, this is why they're going so late.
I mean, speak of the devil and he shall appear, right? And that's exactly what happened here. But yeah, literally right as we hit go live and the feed just came up, the camera just started getting blustered around like crazy. Yeah, the winds have been a thing to keep an eye on pretty much all evening here, even well before the sun went down. It was quite breezy. You may have been able to tell from our Space Coast live cameras here looking over at the press site and with the flags by the countdown clock. But yeah, teams are keeping a very close eye on them. But if it's breezy down here, I can only imagine what the upper level winds are like right now. But it is also worth noting that the winds are more of a factor for SpaceX and Falcon 9 because Falcon 9 is one of the more vulnerable rockets when it comes to wind, simply because of its performance and its size relative to how tall it is and how skinny it is, and also with it having to land as well, because that is also a thing that Falcon 9 does. But yeah, TLDR, it is windy.
It absolutely is windy. But let's for the moment go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna continue with the whole weather stuff because it's interesting because that was it was this liftoff winds and cumulus cloud rule, the only two concerns in terms of weather. Today, the weather was 90% favorable, so essentially 90% chances of good weather. You know, obviously sometimes that 10% sometimes gets you in the end of your back essentially and tries to scrub your launches. Hopefully,
Yeah,
at least,
absolutely.
yeah, the way that I read that tweet from SpaceX is essentially they are watching the winds, but they are going to go into propellant load. And once they go into propellant load, if they see that the winds keep being a problem, then they'll probably scrub. But cross your fingers, think good thoughts and everything that the winds stay calm and don't scrub today's launch. But at least they're gonna try. They're gonna give it a chance.
And they
Yeah,
wouldn't go into
absolutely.
they wouldn't go into prop load if they weren't somewhat confident in the winds, at least going green by the time T0 the T0 time comes by. Otherwise, they wouldn't even bother and save the cost of loading prop into it. So that is a good sign for now.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Let's take the good signs here as we are moving here about 53 minutes to a potential liftoff of Falcon 9. Of course, they have some wiggle room in this window, still about 13 minutes to go in the window, so they can still shift a bit in this window. Of course, once they are into propellant loading, as Falcon 9 is, then they are locked in into a certainty 0. So we will see what happens here, and we will see which time they are targeting at the very end here. Alex, do you mind giving us an overview about today's mission and also mention these interesting stats we're about to mention?
Well, I'm gonna keep some of the stats for later in the stream. Otherwise,
There we go.
my whole speech will be like 10 minutes. So sit down, but not for too long because I'm just gonna be quick. So today we're launching 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. The orbit for today will be a very normal 274 by 282 kilometer orbit. It is going to the southeast, as you can see there in that infographic. Essentially, that's the trajectory for today's launch. It is very similar to all of the Starlink missions that have happened pretty much since December 2022 from the Cape. But there might be a change soon. That's the other things that we're going to be talking later. We'll get to that point when we get there. So that is today, 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites going southeast. Today's booster, it is B1060, the other way around, B1076, launching for a 14th time. It previously supported, missions like CRS-26, OneWay 16, Starlink 61. This was actually the first booster to support a Starlink Group 6. Might actually be the last one to support a Starlink Group 6 mission. We'll get to that as well later. Intelsat 40E, Starlink 6.3, Starlink 6.6, Starlink 6.14, Starlink 6.21, O3b mPOWER Mission 3, Ovsum 3, Starlink 6.40, Eutelsat 3060, and Starlink 6.54. And of course, being a Falcon 9, it is reusable, and the first stage will be landing on Shortfall of Gravitas, located approximately 599 kilometers downrange, northeast of the Bahamas. In that trajectory, you could see that before, and the ferry recovery vessel would be DOG. So that's the sort of overview of today's mission. Again, we'll get to some of the peculiarities of today's mission later in the stream. But yeah, there's a lot.
There we go. I'm looking forward to hearing more and more stats as we progress. It's kind of like unlocking them as we unlock milestones on this launch, I would say. So let's hope we unlock some more stats down the line here. But with also that, I want to quickly mention that, of course, our question panel is open for today's mission. So that means if you have any questions about this launch, make sure to tag at NASA Spaceflight in chat, and we will get to your questions here and answer them with all the expertise and speculation we might throw at it. It's always the wild mix.
That's also why I want to leave it for a little bit later, so we can deal with some of the questions from the audience.
Absolutely.
Maybe it pops up.
Yeah, maybe somebody has these stats that you're about to mention already as a question, so we'll see what happens. Let me also quickly thank some early support here we got from Rick V, becoming a launch director. That's a very high tier of support. Thank you so much for that. Also, Mary Elaine McIntyre, I'm sorry, becoming a Patreon member, and then also the anonymous winner becoming a Patreon member. Thank you so much. And also we have Musical Wolves with Super Chat saying, not your ordinary Starlink launch merge ? I imagine like that, like a lot of stats behind like booster record, Firestone, like you basically find like interesting things you can always find with every Starlink. I don't know. It might be a good idea. We'll see. We'll see. And with that, 49 minutes here into the count. Let's get into question. This might be an interesting one. When there's a Starlink launch, how long does the ground crew have to follow the flight? From how long before actual flight until they can like turn off the lights and leave? Do we know, Alex, how long mission control like covers a launch before they like leave their stations again?
As far as I know, I think it is about T-4 hours or T-4.5 hours when they go into console, and then they like the countdown for Falcon 9 is essentially like 4 hours or so. From when they start doing all the checkouts and all of the they do checkouts when it's horizontal or vertical, while it's there's ground crews at the pad. But for example, the pad is cleared around 4 hours before the launch. As far as I know, there's always the thing with the Starlink missions where they try to lower these times a lot. We're also going to be talking about that of lowering times with the Starlink missions, but there's always this thing with the Starlink missions where they try to challenge themselves, and where maybe if it's instead of 4 hours you clear the launch at T-3 hours, then might not be a big of a deal if you can take the risk, right? There's these things usually with these Starlink missions where on a nominal mission, sure, they clear the pad at T-4 hours, but you never know for a Starlink mission. But yeah, nominally on a normal mission, it is around T-4 hours when they clear the pad. And about 30 minutes earlier, they go in with the controllers and everything. It's usually a very small team, as far as I know. I think SpaceX has said before that it's like 5 or 6 people in console for launch, because there's launch control and then there's mission control in Hawthorne. So launch control is at the Cape when it is a Cape launch. Well, anyways. So yeah, for Cape launches, they have launch control at the Cape, and then they have mission control in Hawthorne. And so they essentially have that as well. So and after launch control supposedly doesn't control much. It's all mission control.
There we go. Max, a question here for local for sure. Xavier asking, sorry, not Xavier, but what direction is the launch? Hoping to see tonight in West Palm Beach.
Well, luckily for you, Falcon 9 is launching on a 43-degree southeast flight path tonight. So West Palm Beach should have a front row seat to it. Of course, with it flying southeast, really anywhere south of Cape Canaveral is going to have this launch tonight filling your skies, and the graphic on screen now should be playing as to where and when you can see this. And that's the great thing about these the Group 6 shell is with it flying south, anyone south pretty much of the Space Coast can see it. And also, if you are like way across the state, probably somewhere around Tampa, Clearwater, that area as well, you can also see it very clearly. But also as well, you can also see it very far north as well, simply because of how high Falcon 9 can fly. But to answer your question simply, in West Palm Beach, you should have a front row seat, and it should look marvelous.
There we go. I always love to throw these questions because there's probably no better person to ask these than a person that has witnessed now how many rocket launches from Florida?
I believe this would be 176.
That's crazy. I talked about this earlier, like off, like when we just hanging out. But there's probably not that many people that have seen more than like. There's of course a few people that have seen more orbital rocket launches, but probably not that many.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, people who have been here for decades are just so used to seeing launches no more than like 12 times a year, and that's like and that's a very high number. So the amount of launches people have seen has grown exponentially for those, especially locals or those covering every single launch. Because I mean, my first launch ever was CRS-20 in March of 2020. So only 4 years ago, I saw my first ever launch, and back then I wasn't even living here either. And now we're creeping up on 200, which is going to happen this year, which is nuts.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, with how often SpaceX and everyone else hopefully will be flying soon, that count will rise very quickly.
Absolutely. And speaking of things that will rise here very quickly, you remember when we talked earlier about SpaceX having some wiggle room in this window? It now appears that SpaceX is targeting the very end of the window, being 10:37 p.m. Eastern Time. So it seems like they need just a tiny bit more wiggle room here to make sure they potentially have a chance here. So it doesn't seem like they're optimistic right now to go into fueling. So they give them a bit more time for the weather to maybe improve and to see if they can proceed with today's countdown. But we have a bit of a delay here, and we are now at 1 hour and 9 minutes until the launch of the Starlink mission.
Yeah, the new T0 will be 10:37 p.m. Eastern. That will be 237 UTC.
Yep, and just to confirm, we are absolutely now at the very, very end of the window. There's no more delays. This is basically like if they can't go here, they can't go today. That's the situation now. So we'll see what happens here.
Yeah.
Alex, a question for you here. Oh god.
No, go. I just said yeah.
Question just a question for you here. One thing I've never known is, what do the numbers in the Starlink mission mean? Like, tonight is 664, and I have no idea what that means.
Oh boy, Kevin, prepare the tweet that I just posted in the back channel, because I thought I was gonna be pulling that out later. But well, you know, we had group what's this? No, that's not that one. That one. But it's still okay. So we have group 1, well, not group 1 technically. We have we had the V1.0 missions, right? And then we had group 2, 3, and 4. Those 4 shells, essentially, those were Starlink Generation 1. Then Starlink Generation 2 began with the Starlink Group 5-1. Group 5 missions were essentially Starlink V1.5 satellites that went to orbits that were for Starlink Generation 2, even though they were not V2 minis or V2s or whatever. Then they started producing V2 minis, and they started launching them on Group 6 missions. This booster supporting the first one, Group 6-1. And so we have had Group 6 missions from the Cape. We've had and Group 6 missions go to 43-degree inclination. Group 7 missions go to 53-degree inclination, and that's why they happen from the west coast, because it's easier to get to that inclination from the west coast. Group 8 missions, those have direct-to-cell satellites. They also go to 53-degree inclination, but they just so happen that they include direct-to-cell Starlink satellites. And those have happened so far from the west coast. Next week, though, we'll have our first Group 8 mission from the Cape, which will be Starlink 8-5. However, this tweet that Kevin is showing here is a NOTAM that was posted for the re-entry of an upcoming Starlink mission that says Starlink 10-1. So that is essentially Starlink Group 10-1. And now go figure what Group 10 missions are all about. From the NOTAM, there's this area that is on, they have these points, these coordinates and everything. You can plot it on a map. It all looks like that it's gonna be for a 53-degree inclination orbit. We don't know. Just simply don't know. This is for a Cape launch, so this launch will essentially take place from the Cape, and this will actually be around the 8th, as you can see on the D line, where it says D and then it says 24, 06, 08, 01, 11. That is essentially the start time of that NOTAM in UTC time. So it will essentially be June 7th local time, essentially June 7th Eastern. late in the evening. So that's right after Starship. If you can imagine, Starship is currently scheduled for the 5th. So a couple of days later, we'll have this weird Starlink mission from the Cape. 53-degree inclination. It's a Starlink mission. We don't really know what it's all about. And so we'll figure that out when we get there. But there's a lot of weird things. Another thing, talking about this booster having supported the first Starlink Group 6 mission, is that we haven't really seen anything else about any other upcoming Group 6 missions. Because again, we have 8-8 and 8-5, both happening on June 5th, by the way, right on the same day as the Starship. And then we have 10-1. We don't have any other Group 6 missions still, being in any NOTAM or anything like it. So this might very well be the last Group 6 mission for the moment, at the very least. We never know if there's going to be anything else happening in the future. But yeah, that's the outlook here for Starlink missions. And what they mean, well, so far we kind of maybe know what they mean. Group 10, though, we'll figure that out when we get there.
Could this finally be the last launch of the Group 6 shell? Because it's been almost a year now that the Group 6 shell has been flying.
It's probably getting close, right? Like, I don't think there's any more 6s scheduled right now, right? So, well, we'll see what happens.
See.
Yeah, certainly.
It'll be a pity because I was wanting 669, but anyways.
Yeah, and also 666 also.
Oh.
We're so close.
Yeah, we were so close to victory, to glory. Yeah.
So
And there's
absolutely.
people. There's people already asking, "Where's Group 9?" Ha, yeah. Where's Group 9? I also wonder that. I have no idea. Maybe it's a Starship. It's a Starlink on Starship. I don't know. Whatever.
We'll certainly try to find that out, but with this, we try to kind of contain our energy with also Starlink and everything coming up here in the next 24 hours. So we will take a short little break and return to you with commentary at T-minus 40 minutes to launch, and hopefully we have done some good news for you regarding fueling happening probably very soon. So until then, you will enjoy some nice tunes here and watch this rocket here on the pad, and we will return to you in 23 minutes from now. See you then.
And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Say again, SPD off. It's orange!
145! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? We don't need any more of these.
And we are back. Hello, everybody. Missed us? It's still me, Alex, Max, and Kevin behind the scenes, and we are still watching a Falcon 9 on a pad as we are just crossing the 38-minute marks in a bit. As you saw, SpaceX lied to us because in the tweet before this they said that they are not tracking any different things than the wind. And now they are saying the recovery vessels were apparently not in position. And they are delaying the launch to 10:37, which is the time that's now ticking in the top left, to get the recovery vessels into the correct position. So, Alex, did SpaceX lie to us?
It's quite interesting, right? They didn't mention that on the first tweet, and now it is when they actually mentioned that. It's also interesting, no, that it's like that. It was supposed to be 10:11 p.m. Eastern, and then it moved to 10:37 p.m. So that is 26 minutes of extra time. So it's like, does that really affect how the recovery assets are positioned and things like that? I don't know. It just seems weird to me. But yeah, this was actually one of the things that I was going to mention today. One of those sort of stats for today was precisely that today is going to be the fastest turnaround time for the drone ship, Shortfall Of Gravitas, for today. As I mentioned before, booster B1076, as you can see in the ticker down below, is flying for a 14th time, and it is landing on a Shortfall Of Gravitas. This mission, we thought that it was going to be using just read the instructions, because a Shortfall Of Gravitas was used literally on the previous mission out of the Cape. And so, Starlink 660 got ASOG, Shortfall Of Gravitas. It delivered B1078 right after coming from that mission. It came to port, and there you can see Gav's tweet on social media essentially saying, Starlink 660 returned to Port Canaveral overnight with both fairing halves and on recovery ship Dog and Falcon 9 B1078 on Shortfall Of Gravitas. That tweet, that is 6:29 a.m. Eastern, they were lifting booster B1078. Just 2 hours later, the drone ship was leaving the port to go for this mission. So this drone ship stayed at port for like 4 hours, essentially. And so
That's crazy.
yeah, and so if you do the math, the time between those two, supporting those two launches, the 660 mission happened essentially 3.5 days ago. So 3 days, 12 hours, 13 minutes. That is the drone ship that you see there. That is just with the instructions. The other one that we thought was going to be used for this mission, because it's the last mission that it supported was like 6 days ago. So 6 days was like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. 6 days, it's kind of normal. It's like an easy time that they can hit for a turnaround time for a drone ship nowadays. 3 days, 3.5 days, that is a quick, very, very fast turnaround. So quite amazing that, it's starting to become an issue for these launches. That is essentially what brought us here till the end of today's window. And speaking of window, if they are really going for that launch, right now should be the start of the launch auto sequence at T-minus 35 minutes. That is when that launch auto sequence starts, and the propellant load begins on the first stage and the second stage as well. But on the second stage is only the RP1 load. The LUX load begins a little bit later into the countdown. So you can see there that timeline. We cannot confirm though just yet because we don't have any signs either from SpaceX on social media or through any kind of frost or condensation from. Oh well, there we go. I just saw the tweet from SpaceX. Propellant load for tonight's Falcon 9 launch has started. So they are going for that 10:37 p.m. Eastern launch time. We can now tick down. We can put in green those first four items on that timeline because we can now confirm that indeed propellant load has started on Falcon 9 for today.
There we go. And yeah, that's a good sign. And again, they are now kind of locked in a situation here because that's how Falcon 9 operates. That's how Falcon 9 works. Once they start propellant loading, once they are getting into the business end of this, they cannot adjust anymore. I mean, the good thing is they couldn't adjust before anyway because they are at the very end of the window, which leads me to one question we got, which I would love to ask you, Alex, and that is, in the stream description, it says the window closes at 11:14 p.m., but on next spaceflight it says 10:37 p.m. Which one is it?
Yeah, so the one that we list in the description, actually, it's a bit outdated because the 10:23 p.m. that is the last T0. See, SpaceX sometimes does a little of a trick here, where they have a launch time frame. We've learned, at least from past times where they've launched, that they have a beginning through the launch hazard zones. We know that they have the beginning of the window is essentially the same as the beginning of the launch hazard zone, and then the window in theory can go all the way until the end of that hazard zone in principle. And we know that because sometimes they said, oh yeah, our window is 4 hours. So if today's window began at 6:43 p.m., in theory they had until 10:43 p.m. Eastern. That's more or less what they usually tend to use. However, when we got the update this morning from SpaceX about this mission, their first T0 already was showing 7:47 p.m. So that's what we show there as the first T0. There was a time where I used to list all of the T0s that they had available because, Celeste Track and all the other tracking sites, they get this all like a list of all the T0s from SpaceX. But we know, at least now, that that's not a complete list, so I'm definitely not doing that anymore. Just listing the first and the last that is showing on SpaceX's website, and that's the whole thing. But as I was saying, sometimes they do this trick where they're like, "Oh, we can squeeze a few more minutes out of our window," and so that 10:23 p.m. Eastern last T0 that was there this morning on their website, and now, like a few hours ago, it changed to 10:37 p.m. Eastern. That is essentially the T0 that we are at right now. That is the last T0 for today. I'm not sure though if they are able to. Well, if they had been able, because now they cannot move that T0 because they are already into propellant load. But in theory, perhaps they could have probably moved it a little bit further down if they had done more trickeries. But yeah, that's essentially more or less what that means. SpaceX just changes a lot of things a lot of times, and it's kind of hard to update things quickly. Next spaceflight, that's what it shows usually, what I tried to say before about how when they have these launch hazard zones and everything, and they give the start time, it's usually 4 hours. Essentially, the window runs for 4 hours till the end. And when a SpaceX goes out with these T0s and everything on their website, then we change to the last T0 that is on the website. And so that's what it means. That next spaceflight has 10:37 p.m., which is this T0.
And Max, I believe we now have a frost ring, and I think your camera overall seems way less shaky than it was like 30 minutes ago. So is the wind calming down?
Yeah, we do have confirmed, at least visually, that prop load has begun. Even though SpaceX has already tweeted about it, we can actually see it now with our own eyes and this big old lens we have on here. But yeah, it's shaken just a little less. There is still a bit of a breeze coming out of the east, but it is far, at least overall, it is far less than what it was even an hour ago. Which is a welcome change because being out here in the wind is sometimes pretty brutal, especially if it's of a cooler temperature. But cooler, excuse me. Calmer winds just means a green timeline for Falcon 9 to fly in, or not timeline, but I can't English right now. What are words? It's going to be a very long night. Winds are not a TLDR winds are not a concern right now, at least on the ground, at least. So, obviously, SpaceX's confidence is confirmed in that they are beginning to load prop into Falcon 9, and they are going to be targeting D0 now. So, fingers crossed, we can get her off the ground tonight.
Absolutely, and for the people who joined us late for this to this broadcast for tonight, we are here with the Starlink 6-64 mission, which is targeting to launch 23 more Starlink V2 mini satellites into LEO. And right now we are looking at B1076-14 getting frosty, and if this mission is successful and they also have a successful landing, it will touch down on the drone ship a Shortfall of Gravitas. We are right now 28 minutes away from a potential launch, and this is the last opportunity for today's launch window. We are at the very end of today's launch window, and that's just your quick recap, because maybe some people will join later, and the last initial intro is already a bit ago. So there we go. Let's get some more questions here. And Alex, this is an interesting one. How does the Falcon 9 first stage target the drone ship, and how do they account for winds and other atmospheric phenomena?
Yeah. So obviously the way that they target it, we already kind of know more or less that what they do is they target sort of like near the drone ship, but not right on the drone ship. And then they use the last, essentially when they start the landing burn, they use that landing burn to be able to sort of swing over to the drone ship and then land on the drone ship. And well, when they launch, also, if you really want to target the launch, the drone ship, essentially when you launch, you know how the booster will follow its path, the trajectory and everything. After its re-entry burn, it also uses its grid fins, to be able to sort of glide towards the drone ship. But again, it doesn't target the drone ship itself. It just tries to get near the drone ship, and then at the landing burn, it completely swings over to the drone ship. For the winds, they do have a profile of winds. When they get there, they usually have all of these, balloons and everything. They have this way of measuring winds up, essentially over the recovery zone. So, there was a time, B1056, on its fourth and last flight, that was 3 years ago, that was in 2021, February 2021, where that booster failed its landing burn precisely because it had the wrong wind profile for the recovery. And so they had that wrong wind profile, and that booster was lost precisely because they didn't introduce the correct parameters for the booster to be able to land right on the money, right on that drone ship. So it just landed on the water and got destroyed, obviously. But yeah, it was quite amazing and very silly moment to lose a booster just because wrong wind profile. That was actually not the last time that they lost the booster, but it was the time before that. So they had B1056 on its fourth launch, and then the next couple of landings actually succeeded, and then the last time that a booster failed, that was the next one after that, was B1059, the one with the seagulls that a lot of people might remember. But yeah, it's quite funny that they lost the booster just because wind profile. So they really take that into account. Of course, yes.
Yep, absolutely, and it's probably one of the biggest challenges, right? Like this more atmospheric dense area of the flight, where they really you can almost sometimes on these recovery operations you can see how the booster almost fights the conditions. It's really almost like a fight of the booster against all of these forces going to that one single target. And again, that's, I think, still impressive that they are able to land an orbital class booster through all of that and touch down precisely on a deck of drone ship. It's still amazing, and it will never stop being amazing. I mean, some people maybe at some point be like, "Oh, it's just another Starlink." Well, they're still landing a booster in it, so I'm very much fine. So this is my input on this discussion. Alex, what's happening to the second stage after it deploys the satellites?
Oh, maybe we can show again the trajectory, but instead of the first stage trajectory, the second stage, I don't even know if Kevin has really. But yeah, the second stage, after it deploys the Starlink satellites, it performs a deorbit burn. That is for Starlink missions, though. For other kinds of missions, it depends on where it's going. Normally, low Earth orbit missions, the second stage has plenty of performance to then do a deorbit burn and come back again. For GTO missions and things like that, it's too high energy. The second stage pretty much runs all the way to dry, to complete empty tanks, and so they cannot. They essentially don't have enough performance to be able to do a deorbit burn. So they leave it essentially in that geostationary orbit. For any other even higher energy missions, for example, if you can imagine to the moon or deep space or whatever, those just stay there on those deep space orbits or whatever, like heliocentric or something like that. But yeah, it's okay because those missions are very rare, right? It's like maybe 5 or 6 a year.
And sometimes they even use like a bit of propellant to go to like almost like a passivation orbit, right? Where they cannot quite reach a D orbit, but they are like they can at least reach an orbit where it matters less. And there we, by the way, see these splashdown zones for the second stage here.
It'll join ship 28. Because that's very similar to the area that it was lost. Hopefully ship 29 will join, but in one piece.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I hope it scouts for 29 there. So let's see for that. Let me thank some more generous support we are getting here. Starting with Papa Dutch coming in with a super chat saying, "We are the beyond Earth generation of Earthlings." Let's hope for that. So far we have not made it beyond Earth with humans, but hopefully I hope I see that. So let's hope we all see that. Papa Dutch coming again with a super chat saying, "That's a serious wow, because we are really doing it." I really hope it again. Biasdorfer, why did I pronounce that English? It's Biasdorfer. Becoming a Red Team member. Thank you so much for that. And then Papa Dutch again with a super chat saying, "Espresso, the ultimate coffee." Yes, I agree. I'm turning more into a espresso person lately, which I don't know if they're good, but it's infected me. So yes. Gareth Cole coming in with a super chat saying, "Just a small contribution to the Alex Coffee Fund." There we go. Alex getting some coffee.
I'm surprised that we have Europeans watching. It's like 4:15 a.m. At least in Central European time, 3:15.
Yeah, 2/3 of this commentary right now is European. The only other person is poor Max over there, who's at the Cape now for how many hours?
I mean, I live here full time, so I'm here for any hour of the day. But in terms of being at the Space Center today, oh Lord, we were here for remote camera setup this morning from about Kevin in the back channel. Like, the only other person.
I said commentary. I want to point out I said commentary. To be
Kevin. Fair. He did. Adrian did say that. And this is when Kevin might unmute his mic and unleash his mind.
Then it's wrong, and then it's going to be wrong because God has spoken. Yeah, we know.
See, there's people from like the UK, from Ireland. That's a lot of people. But you know what? Up there, it's very chilly, and you know another place where it's chilly right now. Oh my god.
Oh my god, Ed, do you mean the T-minus 20 minute
T-minus
vent
20
that
minute
just
vent.
started?
Yes.
Alex, what's that vent? Explain to us.
Yeah, they're just chilling down the line that goes up to the second stage ahead of liquid oxygen load. It also means that perhaps by now, stage 2 RP1 load is complete. That is essentially more or less what we expect. Like both events kind of happen more or less at the same time, at least for Falcon 9. For Falcon Heavy, they are offset by 2 minutes or so, but it's okay. It's a small offset. So yeah, RP1 load is complete on the second stage. They're preparing now for the stage 2 LUX load, essentially, which will begin in about 3.5 minutes from now. And so, cold fluids go into a thing that it's right now at ambient temperature, so you need to condition that so you don't break things. We've explained this many times before, of course. When you metal and brittles and things like that, you can also break down. You can also have your very cold thing turn into very very big bubble of gas very quickly, so you break your systems and everything. You don't really want that. Similar thing happens when you chill down the engines, and also the same thing happens at Starbase. If you watched our wet dress rehearsal coverage earlier this week, that was essentially what we saw. We saw a lot of venting from everywhere. A lot of that venting was precisely conditioning lines and conditioning tank farm. Everywhere conditioning, because things get chilly when you have a lot of chill propellants. I don't know.
Yeah,
gotta condition
absolutely. It's
everything.
here. It's kind of the thing of like when you start with rockets, you're like, oh, amazing rockets. And the more and more deeper you go, the more you realize, oh, it's all just ground tank farms conditioning. Always
Yeah.
has been.
There you go. That's a Starship and Starbase.
Yep. Just 105 hours away potentially from the next
Very
launch
soon.
of Starship. There's already a stream up for that schedule, so if you want to bookmark that, it's already there on our channel.
Amazing trailer, by the way.
Yep, absolutely. Alex, Gareth here is wondering if they scrap right now, could they recover the propellant that is already in the rocket?
Yeah, so the same way that they pump in propellant, they use the same lines that they use to fill the propellant tanks. They use the same lines to also drain back. So they're actually called fill and drain lines, precisely because of that. So it's not just umbilicals to just put in stuff on the tanks, but also to reclaim them. Of course, you'll have, for the liquid oxygen, because it's cryogenic, you will have some boil off. So that boil off, you will not be able to recover it. And so you will have some losses, but a great majority of that liquid oxygen, you can recover it. Usually it's about 80 to 85% that you can recover. The other 10, 15, 20% is lost by boil off. But, it's okay. Like that's thermodynamics for you. That's what happens when you have a lot of cold stuff. Kerosene, though, it doesn't boil off, so that's a good thing, because, you can just drain it back and put it back on the tanks, and you don't lose anything.
Absolutely. Max, this is an interesting question for you. Does these launches or each launch from Florida bother the wildlife and animals in any way? Have you seen any animal reaction to all of these launches, or are they calm?
Oh, that's always a fun question to answer. And the answer is yes. Primarily what we hear, especially when it's just us here at the press site for Starlink, every single time once the sound from all 9 Merlins dissipates, we hear anywhere from 2 to 5 at least alligators bellowing away in anger from being woken up or interrupting their midnight hunt. So we hear those. Occasionally we hear coyotes over by the crawl yard behind us, by the VAB. And we have also seen fish jumping here during launch when the peak of the acoustic energy is hitting this area. So we've seen that as well. And of course, birds, also do not like being disturbed with the incredibly loud sound that is impacting their eardrums as well. So they all up and fly away, depending on wherever they are, usually. But yes, it does happen. It is most prominent, I think, and it's at least most visible when there's sunlight and you can see all this happening. But When it's just us out here at night for these wonderful midnight Starlinks, the most prominent thing we hear, of course, is the alligators, which is pretty unnerving the first time you hear it. But after a while, it just becomes pretty cool. So it's all part of the process. But
You're
yes,
scaring me now.
we see it. No, everyone is so. A bunch of people are so afraid of alligators. I know I sound like such a Florida man saying in that they are just like frogs with teeth more often than not. They would rather have nothing to do with
The problem
humans.
is the teeth.
Yeah, it's like
I mean,
I actually you're pointing out the part I'm worried about.
Yeah.
It's not Adrian. You and I had this conversation a few days ago. It's not the alligators that you really have to worry about. It's the crocodiles. But those guys are in South Florida. They're not here, because crocodiles have a very short fuse when it comes to their temper, and alligators just don't like being bothered more often than not. So, yeah, they're just frogs with teeth, basically.
Are they like? Do you have like a favorite like alligator story where they just I don't know hang out on your car or something?
You know, actually, I say they're just frogs with teeth. One almost bit me a couple years ago. That was fun, randomly. But that was a one-time occurrence. We see them pretty
Yeah,
much daily
you
here
are.
around the Space Coast.
You are making me so calm right now
No, it's
about
all good.
my choice
It's
of
just
going out
Your cover of lies is falling apart right in front of your eyes, Max.
I mean, it just the more you're here. I mean, obviously, you hear a lot about the wildlife here in Florida between the black bears, occasionally the bobcats, especially the boars here at the Merritt Island Wildlife Refuge. The longer you're here and the longer you are around all the wildlife that is so prevalent, the more you understand that if you don't bother them, they won't bother you. So, it's lovely seeing. Honestly,
But-
it's so lovely seeing all the animals here. It's wonderful.
But this is I usually tend to say, how does one of these things know that I'm not trying to bother them? They don't
mean,
know. They're
animals
not
know.
conscious.
I mean, my girlfriend actually just texted me. She's listening in as well. She's like, they're huge. They want to eat you, and it's like, well, no. I mean, if you really really make one very angry, sure, it might want to come after you, but just don't bother them. They won't bother you. Just admire from a safe distance. Don't become.
I just love that you said, "Oh, it was a one-time occurrence." Man, I don't know. It's been 0-time occurrences here in Spain. I don't even think we have those things here, like alligators or crocodiles or whatever.
Well, you also are not in
yeah.
the tropics up there, and we are heavily in the tropics down here. So,
It kind of feels like we are in the tropics though, because it's like 80 or something Fahrenheit here right now. But yeah, it's
and
4 a.m.
also to pop the bubble for anyone who's in Starbase, Starbase also has alligators, or at least the area around Boca Chica. They have been seen around there, which I didn't know until last time I was there. Somebody posted a picture, which is pretty cool. But yeah, they do have alligators there too. But honestly, the wildlife here is as well, especially once you get over into Port Canaveral and you start seeing all the dolphins and the some of the sharks actually come in there too. Some people have caught sharks in there, and especially the manatees as well over in the lagoon and also in the ports and in the river. There is just such an amazing breadth of wildlife here, and it's wonderful.
I love.
I won't mention the mosquitoes and fireflies. You know, that's actually the least of my
Except for the freaking
concerns.
mosquitoes. Yeah, that's a very good point.
That's actually the least of my concerns because we also get a lot of mosquitoes here. It's just that we're not next to swamps everywhere, so I can expect like a really huge increase in the density of mosquitoes whenever I go there. But other than that, I'm familiar with mosquitoes and mosquitoes that actually hurt you a lot. Because yeah, let's say that we're very close to Africa, where I live, and yeah, there's been outbreaks of things down here. So
Absolutely. I think I just love the fact that you're like casually talking about all of these dangerous animals, and then I'm here like I think the most dangerous animal that I've ever seen is a wild boar, and that's where the list ends.
Yeah, the
So we-
boar do get kind of dangerous because a pig's natural instinct is to charge you if it feels threatened. And actually, I have come within
Especially if
a
they
dangerous
have
distance of
children.
one. Yeah, especially
Yeah.
if they have piglets with them too, with the whole family.
Yeah.
I actually have come dangerously close to one as well, and I don't like telling that story, but I'm probably not helping my case here, but unless you want to be like Steve Irwin and venture out into the unknown all by yourself, I would not worry about the wildlife. But there is a ton of it here.
There we go. I mean, it's kind of cool to have like a wildlife reserve. I guess it's probably peaceful when there's not rockets launching.
Probably,
know-
but also I just said a few minutes ago in the back channel, Adrian, you'd like this. I actually just found a couple of spiders crawling on me over here. But as you do,
Yeah.
as you do.
Yeah, I already saw links of spiders in the back channel. Thanks for that, by the way. I almost jumped and kicked my screen.
Speaking of having lots of something, we've had a lot of SpaceX launches this month, haven't we?
Oh, there's a question about this. Robert Simon's asking if this
there we
launch
go.
gets off the pad, how many times has SpaceX launched in May? Let's have this discussion.
Well, it depends. Are we talking about how many times SpaceX has launched in May? Local time or UTC? See, that's the thing. We are on May 31st, and as always, the question comes up where it's like, well, yeah, that was the tweet from Kikudonchev about, you know, the number 54 on the year and 11th launch of May. We have a shot at 14 this month. Won't be easy, but the team is laser focused on the goal and ensuring we do our work with safety and reliability as the priorities. So this was like a couple of weeks ago or so. Now they have completed the 12th and the 13th launch of May. I believe we also have the other one from the 14th. That was the EarthCare mission from Vandenberg a few days ago. This mission in local time should in theory be the 14th launch, but because it is the 31st, of course in UTC it'll be June 1st. Now the reason why I say this, and I know a lot of people in the chat will be like, oh, of course it is the 14th because it's the local time. You know, at the end of the day, it just comes down to what arbitrary number of days you're picking to count as a month. Adrian and I had sort of like a little chat before we went live again.
My opinion about this. My opinion about this is launch cadence per month doesn't matter. Here I am going on the record. It's a very arbitrary way to measure it. What you can, I think a way more accurate is a rolling launch cadence in the last 30 days. And you basically measure that day by day. That's the proper metric to do it. I do not like the fact that we are setting like arbitrary kind of mini goals and be like, oh, they also think yearly launch cadence should not be measured by January to December, but more like a rolling average based on the last 365 days. There you go. That's my hot take for the day.
Well, it is still
65 or
technically
66?
it is still technically May where the rocket is technically launching from, so I'm gonna count this as 14.
Yeah, that's another thing though. The problem
As
with
long
that
as you
is
don't-
that's... Go ahead, Adrian.
As long as you don't claim that for when it's for your advantage in terms of UTC.
That's the thing that we've
The rocket
had
is not launching
times-
in UTC. UTC is not local time. This is still May where we are. This is launch number 14.
Okay, Max, what happens when they launch from the West Coast? And it is 10 p.m. Pacific, but it is 1 p.m. Eastern, excuse me. Speaking of bugs, I have a bug in my room, so I'm trying to get rid of it. But yeah, anyways, so when you have that problem, it's like if it were May 31st at 10 p.m. Pacific, 1 a.m. Eastern, that would mean it is already in June on the Eastern, but local time it is the May. So it is a really big miss.
It's still technically May local time, so it technically launched in May. That's your technicality.
No, I no.
What
no,
local
no.
time did
That's
it
my
take?
take. That's my opinion,
think-
and I'm sticking to it.
I think you need to fix on one time zone. I think if you want to do like even if you
Yeah.
if there's somebody who wants to really make like arbitrary mini goals, they should focus on one time zone. Otherwise, they're cheating. That's
How
like
is that cheating? How in the world is that cheating?
no, that's cheating.
Yeah, I argue about this that
you're extending your month by a whole
Europeans
3
giving-
hours.
Look at
Yeah,
a couple of Europeans giving their takes about U.S. time zones.
No, I
you
think
guys have
no,
six
it's
time zones. So
It's
yeah,
it's just
We have
my take about the fact.
The continental U.S. only has 3.
So basically, if you say west and east coast matter, you don't say how much did they launch in 1 month. You're saying how much did they launch in 1 month and 3 hours, because you're giving you an extra few hours.
Well, it's still 1 month in the local time that it launched.
Well, in 2 local times, you're
Well,
basically saying.
Well,
I love that you were supposed to be
So-
sent off.
So
for
if a
this
launch,
launch.
damn,
yeah,
Rocket
guys,
Lab,
guys,
Rocket
I have to
Rocket
go.
Lab-
I have to go man some cameras. Can I please go do that?
You're the
Rocket
one
Lab can-
that's arguing.
Rocket Lab can almost extend it by like over 12 hours. Anyway, have a good day, Max.
Yeah.
And good luck tracking.
You guys are just trying to just stir the pot when I have to go do my job. What is this?
Oh, I have so much more arguments about this.
Like this is worse than Jack like waiting for me to get off and then going. "Still so bad."
I will bring this opinion tomorrow on the Starliner stream to Jack, and
nobody is
Cool.
going to give it a single thought because it is so ludicrous. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Yeah, my last comment about this is that if you don't care about keeping track of the launches or whatever, it's okay if you do local time or whatever. But if you do care about keeping track, then you should probably use some kind of standard time zone, whether it's Pacific, Eastern, or UTC or whatever. But always keep that same time zone, otherwise your data will be a mess.
yeah.
But speaking of data
yeah.
and keeping track
Yeah.
of things, we should probably go back to the countdown, right?
Absolutely. With 4 minutes to go, we are now in strongback retraction. You can already see the clamps of the strongback have opened, and the strongback will now start to. I just for a moment thought, wait, this is 39A. No, it's not. It just has a tower now. It's always confusing me. Anyway. And we are now approaching also LOX load complete on the first stage, and we will also in 1 minute see LOX load complete on the second stage. There's LOX load complete on the first stage, by the way. And we are closing up the items here quickly as SpaceX is getting ready to launch the Starlink 6-64 mission in 3 minutes from now. And so far, we have not heard of any like weather delays anymore or like any problems with the weather, so it seems like they're going for it. However, we will of course stand by for the final go no go from the launch director at around 40 or so seconds for launch. That good summary?
Yeah, we are waiting now for that stage 2 LOX load complete. We'll see that vent from the strongback come back as they get ready to essentially get rid of all the remaining liquid oxygen on that line, because you don't want to launch, right, and have that line full of liquid oxygen still. That will be a very bad day for your propellant line. But yeah, we should be very close to that moment, and yeah, then T-1 minute, startup sequence begins. That is when the ground computers hand over control to the onboard computers on Falcon 9, the tanks pressurized for flight, yada yada yada, all the stuff. Final few minutes of a launch countdown is always very active because they do so many things. Okay,
Stage
so
2,
yeah,
LOX
stage
load
2
complete.
LOX load complete. Oh yeah, I'm here.
There we go. And we are now just roughly 100 seconds, actually exactly 100 seconds away from liftoff. Rocket is mostly ready for its mission today. And again, just to quickly recap what this mission will be. It will launch some more internet satellites into the 6th shell of Starlink. And after that, the booster
Gas launch closeouts
B-1076
have
will
started.
return to a Shortfall Of Gravitas for the 14th landing of this booster.
Yeah.
And with that,
Those
we are
gas
now just...
closeouts.
There we go.
Oh, sorry.
And we are now in the phase where the Falcon 9 launch computer will take over the countdown exactly now. Or, yeah, exactly now. And we'll probably hear a call out for that.
I don't know if you remember. There we go. Falcon 9 is startup.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Yep, there we go. And the next one is the launch directors confirming go for launch if the weather is go, which we hope. Which should be any second now.
LD, go for launch.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's what we want to hear. And with that, Falcon 9 is ready to launch in 30 seconds from now. Watch for a bit of a green flash at the bottom of the rocket as the rocket uses T-Tab to ignite its 9 Merlin engines, which will happen 15 seconds from now. And of course, we will also see maybe a bit of the deluge system. It's gonna be always hard because you don't really see the bottom. There it is. Actually, you can see it. That's the deluge system. That's the green flash. That's the ignition. And we have a liftoff of the Starlink 6-64 mission using booster B1076, carrying 23 more Starlink internet satellites to the 6th shell of Starlink. Let's enjoy these views and also listen in for the sound.
Falcon 9 is supersonic. Max Q.
That audio was exceptionally beautiful today. Ooh, I like that.
It was so good.
Yeah, absolutely insane sounds. Loving it. And there you can see Falcon 9 going downrange. And we are approaching the point where the booster has done its part, or at least the ascent part. And the second stage takes over in just half a minute from now, right?
Yeah, we just heard that call out of MVAC engine chill. That is the chill down process for the MVAC, just like we had for the first stage booster 9 engines. And preparing for the ignition in just 20 seconds from now. We'll have MECO and then stage SEP and MVAC ignition. That's MECO.
And separation.
Replay from SpaceX.
Stage separation confirmed.
And there we have the MVAC.
Back ignition.
Watch out now for the fairing halves to deploy as well.
There we go. Love the MVAC lighting up. And you can get to see the booster getting toasty.
Oh, you can see the lights of the fairings. I can see the reflection.
Fairing separation confirmed.
There we go.
See those two bright
Oh
points
yeah.
next to the second stage.
You can, with a bit of luck, we will also see the RCS firing. Because these fairings have RCS, correct?
Yeah, they essentially use that RCS to be able to position themselves for their re-entry, and then after they have gone through the re-entry, they pop up, they put out a parachute, and then they gently soft splash down on the ocean. So, but yeah, we could see those fairings, I guess, illuminated by the second stage light. I think you might be able to still see one of them a little bit to the left.
Yep, and you can also see how fast it's passing these stars here.
Yeah.
Because these right and left are stars.
Yeah, you see some of these
Max
stars
checking.
in the background. A lot of people always ask us, "Oh, what are those lights in the background?" But yeah, those are lights. Those lights are from stars. Usually, when you see one of these stars going by in the wrong direction, though, all of them are moving sort of in the same kind of direction, and then somehow one of them moves in the wrong direction, as in a direction that is not with the other ones. Normally, that might mean it's probably a satellite, though. But today, I think we are completely in darkness. I would not expect a satellite today. Ooh, look at that. from the
Ooh, look
beach.
at that.
That's amazing.
That's a good one. Loving it. That's good. And yeah, booster now making itself getting ready to return. Which
Yep.
Max still has it 5 minutes in. That's the second stage, by the way. Just to point out, that's
Vehicles
not the
are on
booster.
a
That's
nominal
the second
trajectory.
stage. There we go. That's what we wanted to hear.
Good to hear. Yeah, we're about a minute and a half until that entry burn. Actually, more close to a minute than a minute and a half. But yeah, booster has already. You can see there on the telemetry on the bottom left, the altitude is already below 100 kilometers, picking up speed, going down in altitude as the booster returns back to Earth for a 14th time. You can see already some of that chilling
engine
of the,
chill,
of the
yeah.
engine. Yep, preparing those engines for the re-entry burn.
Go just a bit from now, and then you will see the entry burn, which starts with 1 engine, correct? And then will go up to 3 engines. So you will first see a circle, kinda, and then it will
And a
always
line.
turn to a line.
Yep.
That's the 2 other engines that will ignite.
Stage 1 FTS has saved.
Oh, you
There's
can see
the-
the entry burn there.
That's the entry
Stage 1
burn.
entry burn startup.
You can see it there, just above the horizon. That's the rocket entry burn. That's insane. That's the view from the coast. There it is. That's the line. You can see 3 engines now.
And then it shuts down those 2.
Will happen any moment
Stage 1
now.
entry burn
And-
shut down.
There we go.
Yep.
0.
There we go.
And now we will see some of that atmospheric heating as it goes through that re-entry. You can see already there.
Stage 2
On the grid
FTS has
fins.
saved.
Now the aerodynamics are really
Adrian?
doing their job.
FTS.
Yeah, I have some thoughts, and also DFA has some thoughts.
I saw your tweet.
I still think. I mean, it's
Vehicles
a
are on a
pedantic.
nominal trajectory.
I will not bring this discussion up. I will save that for the next Starship stream.
Have we seen already the light of the drone ship?
Yep. I think we just saw
It's
it like
usually on the left.
flickering.
Stage 1 transonic.
It's always funny to me how, the booster always re-enters in the same orientation relative to the drone ship, where it's always on the
I mean,
left.
they optimized the roll program to have the antennas correctly pointed, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think I can already see it on the
Yep.
left.
I agree. I think saw it flickering there.
Should be coming up on that landing burn.
And here we go,
we
landing
go.
Stage 1
burn.
landing burn.
Oh, you can hit.
Stage 2
Do
in
we have
terminal
landing
guidance.
audio?
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage
Like
1 landing
butter.
confirmed.
Bullseye! And that's a
Wonderful.
record.
And that's a touchdown for B1076-15. Hey, Max.
Hello.
How was it?
I think first and foremost we should touch on the fact that holy cow, like the fact that they've been giving us landing audio now is remarkable.
I
just
love
in
that.
He has been
in that
busy.
one clip alone, we were able to pick out the technically triple, but sounds like double sonic booms, and then of course the almost Doppler effect of the exhaust becoming coming closer and closer and closer before touching down. Wow, that never gets old, and nor does the launch. That was spectacular as always. I think the wind coming out of the northeast now kind of suppressed the sound more than usual. It took a bit longer to get to us, and it wasn't as loud as it normally is when it did get here. but beautiful as always. I had some issues with tracking on a couple of occasions, so apologies for some of the jerkiness. It's that some of the mosquitoes, or I call them pterodactyls, have come out and started biting me. So I was trying to fight those off for a while, but never gets old seeing Falcon 9 fly in the blackness of night.
And here's the launch pad being empty now, as we are. It's potentially the last Group 6 launch that we just saw.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe this way was goodbye Starlink Group 6 for now. I mean, they will return potentially at some
now,
point
They could,
if they
yeah,
replace them.
they could. But you
But
know,
yeah, awesome tracking, Max. That we
Yeah.
saw that, and also we saw one of the ground cameras saw the entry burn from like the coast. That was also cool.
Yeah, normally we can also see those from here as well, and tonight we did as well. But finding those, trying to get those in camera and in frame when you're already at about 1,000 or 1,200 millimeters when you're punched in super tight is difficult as is, because it's this tiny orange speck on the horizon that's moving pretty quickly, and it's difficult to aim. But you can usually see it from here on a clear night, and really anywhere else on the coast as well. It should be seen there too, but never gets old, man. That never gets old.
I gotta say,
Absolutely.
props to the recovery teams, because we saw that bullseye landing. That was the fastest turnaround time of a drone ship. It is not easy to do that, and
I feel like Sawyer here. Props?
what
Isn't
do you mean?
Propellant?
Oh.
Oh God, that didn't land. Oh man, that
didn't land well, right?
That did
Yeah,
not land well at all. No. Yikes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a long day. Can you tell?
Oh God, it's gonna get longer. Just you stick around.
For those keeping track at home, I guess I should say that turnaround time was 3 days, 12 hours, and 13 minutes for a Shortfall of Gravitas. That is the new record for turnaround time for a drone ship.
I mean, I can give a quick overview here of what you're about to see on this the next few days here on NASA spaceflight, because there's quite a few bit to come, and here we can see the liftoff one of the cameras.
This is what
I
you
love
saw.
how it just illuminates like the whole sky.
Meanwhile, Starliner there, as you can see as well on Slick 41. That's going to be
Absolutely,
our
and
next launch stream.
we
right?
are going live early for Starliner. We will we'll start our coverage like around 4 hours maybe earlier for Starliner CFT, which is tomorrow. So we hope to see a nice and smooth crew launch tomorrow from Slick 41. And then of course we have the elephant in the room, which is
Another
Starship.
Starlink. Oh,
sorry. The elephant in the room. Of course, I'm talking about Starlink Group 8-5 on what? No. No, we are talking about, of course, the launch of the Starship Super Heavy Flight 4 as early as June 5th, according to SpaceX, which we, of course, will cover in our usual marathon coverage, just as a preview for that. As you see these replays from today's launch. And we also have countdown to launch tomorrow. We have countdown to launch on Monday. We have countdown to launch probably on Tuesday. We'll see. We do a lot. So if you
we also have videos coming out.
Yeah,
Saying we have Starbase update on Monday.
There's more to come.
Maybe
Yeah,
another one on Tuesday. We'll see.
I think it's safe to say that the entire team, both here on the East Coast, in Texas, West Coast, in Europe, everywhere, we are running on all cylinders right now, making sure that everything gets out and everything gets covered in the best manner that it can. So not enough can be said for everyone, for anyone who has any effort or hand in planning and any execution that's happening in the next week or so. So we are going to be very, very busy here in the coming days.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
you see us here commentating and everything. There's also a lot of other folks in the background, preparing cameras at Starbase, for example, for the upcoming Starship launch. So that sort of thing really matters.
Or writing a lot of scripts tomorrow, right, Alex?
Or yeah. Don't remind me of that, man. I have so many scripts to write.
Yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow's gonna be a fun day. But yeah, Looking good so far.
I thought
Looking at
tomorrow
the.
is Saturday, not fun day.
Oh my god. It's. I can see the sun, by the way. I'm looking out of my window, and I can tell you it's yeah, I can already see the sky is basically bright again.
Oh no.
So that's here, by the way, is gauge tracking.
Yeah, I gotta say,
With-
I didn't get used to that when I was in the UK. It was like 5 a.m. where I woke up one of the days and it looked like it was 10 a.m.
Yeah, quickly a reminder that Alex and I live apparently in the same time zone, but not really.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
There we go.
And we have a tweet from Kiko,
Kiko.
saying, this landing is special because the recovery team just chattered our fastest ever landing to landing return. Roughly 84 hours between two boosters touchdown on ASOG. It traveled roughly 640 nautical miles in that time with only 3.5 hours at the dock to drop off a rocket. And again, like, huge props to the SpaceX recovery team. Like,
Yeah, that is
absolutely
precisely
unsung heroes.
That is precisely what we were talking about before when we showed those tweets from Gavin, our boat guy, so to speak, where he pointed out that it was like maybe 4 hours between dropping off a booster and then going out again. It's quite surreal. The funny thing is they had it seemed like they did this on purpose because they had just read the instructions which had been available for about 2 days at port. And they could have used that to be able to support this mission, but they on purpose said, okay, let's use a Shortfall of Gravitas again, and let's do this, a little bit over 3-day turnaround time for this drone ship. Like they seem to have at least done this on purpose, and props to them for trying, and they did it.
Absolutely. Let me thank some more people here because we got some amazing support here. Starting with Wes Meadow with Super Chat saying, trying to confirm are they prop loading? Yes, they did prop load. You can tell I'm a bit behind on these. Steve Alling with a Super Chat saying, coming down for Falcon Heavy launch. I'm a skydiving aerial photographer and videographer. The local drop zone do launch jumps, thinking of jumping, photographing, and videographing the launch in free fall. I have no idea what the restrictions and possibilities of that are.
That sounds
if
amazing.
But if you're doing that in like if there's a way to do that outside of the exclusion zones or something, that sounds amazing.
I mean, as long as you're outside of the TFRs, I think it's free game. But actually, I had that idea like 4 years ago, of shooting a launch like mid skydive. How sick would that be? But
absolutely,
holy
sick.
cow, that is fun. I really hope that you pull it off soon. That sounds amazing.
By the way, speaking of sick things, Sawyer's picture here of the track. Sorry, it just faded away as I talked about it. There we go. Sawyer also going out watching the launch, and of course, Sawyer also will be at the Cape tomorrow, helping with the Starliner coverage, as will be Max and Julia. Like, there will be a lot of people tomorrow involved, so look forward to that. I want Wes Meadow with another super chat here saying, here with my wife Danielle to see our first launch ever. She's pumped. Can you give her a shout out? Yeah, shout out to Danielle. I hope you both enjoyed the launch. I mean, you saw one, so there we go. And Sawyer just pointing out in the chat, by the way, this tracking shot was from 150 miles south. Insane, Sawyer. Insane. Just to point that out. Eternal Swordsman here with a super chat saying, what's your favorite rocket propellant combo, including demo ones that haven't flown? I tend to like methanol, nitromethane, petroxide. I plan to use that in my eventual space shot, hopefully. First off, good luck with the space shot. That's
holy cow.
That's a tri-propellant rocket, right? Methanol, nitromethane, peroxide. Wow.
That's a what? Wow.
That is actually a very good question, by the way. That's a very unique question.
I'm thinking about it right now.
I think at one point there was like this proposal of having like hydrogen and lithium and liquid oxygen or something like that. I don't know. It was a very weird combination. It was a tri-propellant rocket, and I think it had like an ISP of 500, being 500 seconds. And it was still like a chemical rocket, so it was a very powerful rocket. It was not like an ion engine. By the way, I found a solution. Thanks to a friend of mine, I found a solution about the whole thing of whether it's May or June. here's the solution. If it's May, right? If it counts for the May, then they have broken the record and they have done 14 launches in May. If it's June, then they're on track to hit 275 launches in June. So hey, win-win. Whatever you want to choose, it's a win for
There we go.
SpaceX.
Jeez.
I love it. I love it. By the way, my favorite propellants are first stage methane, second stage hydrogen.
Cough, cough, New Glenn.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean,
I think for me, like, it's difficult to beat a VC2 Vulcan with the Methalox BE4s and then the solid the SRBs in the sides.
that was sick. I have to admit that was sick.
What's that music?
I think we're
Are we
being.
are we getting played out here?
Yeah,
I
I think
think so.
I have to be faster here. Echo Deal here with a super chat saying, "Captain, we have detecting some kind of temporary anomaly." I don't get that reference. And German pilot
because
with
of
a
the
super
whole
chat.
May and June stuff.
Oh, yeah. German pilot with a super chat saying, "Hello from Germany. I love watching your streams of the rockets taking off. Greetings back to Germany." Another person that took up. Yeah, we are being outroed here. I think this is totally happening. Well, I will first thank Max here and also get you out of the mosquito madness. So thanks, Max, for rolling out there and being there, and good luck catching some sleep before Starliner.
Hey, it is a pleasure as always, everybody. Yeah, I will see y'all bright and early to do this all over again for the much anticipated first crewed flight of Boeing's Starliner crew capsule. Really excited about that one. There are a lot of thoughts and a lot of nerves around it as well. And the fact that it has delayed again just only builds up the anticipation, I guess we could say. So I will see y'all again in a few hours.
Absolutely, and as we outring Max here, here's your tracking shot. So thanks again for tracking today, Max. Alex, thanks for all the amazing stats and banter and discussion today.
Yeah.
And also thanks for being my European co-host here, making sure that I'm not the only European skipping sleep today.
Well, I'm going to have to skip a lot
getting
more.
louder?
I think so. I think Kevin just doesn't want me to rant. Anyways, yeah.
I think Kevin
tomorrow.
really wants to go to sleep. Kevin, thank you so much for being our producer today, as you're turning up these music. I hope you don't mind me talking even longer and making sure you're... No, I'm joking. Thanks for being the producer, Kevin. And Kevin's also on Starliner tomorrow, as am I, as is Max. So you will see a lot of your similar faces. This is basically the same crew again, kind of. Jack will be with us as well tomorrow, so look forward to that. And with that, I'm Adrian Bile. I was your host today. Thanks so much for watching. And again, tomorrow, Starliner, we will be back there. And we will now let you sleep until then. See you tomorrow.
And here we go.
We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside FTE off. Say again, FTE off.
It's orange! 145! god! Oh my god!
Décollage. Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
The methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.